Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host Flavia Barris as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today, we've got the absolute pleasure of speaking with Cindy Schulson. She shows coaches and consultants how to stand out in this noisy online world by marketing with heart versus hype. She brings a decade of marketing experience working for such companies as Coca-Cola and Visa, combined with a decade of online marketing to create a paradigm shift in how marketing can be done with integrity and heart. One of her greatest gifts is helping her clients sort through their brain dump of ideas, we've all been there, so they can find the golden nuggets that make them shine in their own unique way. She's well known for her down-to-earth approach, and what you see is truly what you get. Her love of adventure has led her to live and work in 5 different countries, and she continues to bring that adventurous spirit to both her business and life. Thank you so much, Cindy, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Flavia. Great to be here.
Well, it's great to be here, and it's great to have met you. I met you at the New Media Summit, so it's one of those kind of 2 or 3 day networking events where you just meet so many entrepreneurs from all walks of life, all different topics, all different niche areas of business, and we just share ideas and chat, and I made an instant connection with you. I just thought you were an amazing soul. You just had a sparkle in your eye. And then when I saw what you're all about, it kind of made sense, that you're somebody who teaches about heart and teaches about, approaching business as something other than just numbers on a spreadsheet. And I appreciate you for that. And I just love the fact that you're willing to share some of that with my audience today.
Oh, thank you. And I have to tell your audience, because I've had the pleasure of meeting you, that you're right. We did have that instant connection, and you have that very same sparkle and a huge heart and just lovely, lovely person. So I'm very lucky I got to meet you in person.
Well, so let's move on to a little bit about your business, because everybody's business model is unique. No 2 solopreneurs are the same. I mean, that I can tell you right now, and no one will ever convince me otherwise. I can probably have 2 twins who are entrepreneurs, and both of their businesses will be completely different. So let's talk about your business model, what you do for a living, so to speak, and how you got there.
Will do. And I'm glad you said that, because the problem with so many people, and we've all fallen into this trap, is that we kind of look and see what other people are doing and we think we can just cookie cutter it to our own businesses, and it never works, as you know. So yeah, we're unique and our businesses are unique. So we have to really adapt things to who we are. And anyway, thank you for sharing that. So in terms of how I got here, well, like so many people, it was a long journey, and I'll make it short. But like you mentioned, I was very fortunate in my corporate career. I got to work for Coca-Cola. I was their external affairs manager in Vietnam. That was like such a cool experience. And Visa and global consulting firms. And then in my late 30s, I started a family, and I decided I was just going to leave corporate. Best decision ever. Never went back.
I've never had anyone regret that decision. We have quite a few corporate refugees that listen to the show and that we've had on as guests. And I just haven't really met anyone who said, I left corporate America and just regretted it so much. And then I went back, and I'm so glad I went back. Never, not once. I mean, I talk to a lot of people. I'm pretty chatty. So, I mean, out of all those folks, not a single one. So in that way, we're both pretty standard, I guess, because I'm the same way.
Well, and to be honest with you, until I moved to the States, I really loved my corporate experience. I had some really great opportunities, and I had some great jobs where I got to be very entrepreneurial. But it was when I moved to the States, where I was working in head office, that I kind of got a different feel for it all. And I was done. I was done. And my husband, actually, at the time, I was earning double what he was earning. And I said, forget it. I don't even care. We'll just live simply for a while. And it was all good. And of course, everything happens for a reason. And it took me a while to deciding to even start a business. But once I did, I was like what I call ignorance on fire because I was doing everything and didn't know, despite my background in marketing and communications, Flavia, it took me about a year and a half of completely spinning my wheels before I got any traction.
But that can work. It's called like the ready, fire, aim. you know, Ready,
Yeah.
fire, aim sometimes is the best way. Sometimes you just have to jump in the pool and then figure out, how cold is the water? How do I swim? What do I need to do? And, but less dangerous than that because you're not going to drown. I mean, especially as a solopreneur, some degree of experimentation is forgiven. There's a lot that you can do and sort of mess up and still pivot and recover. And so for a lot of folks that just spend years and years planning out every single little detail and trying to learn, analysis by research, paralysis by over research, I think it can kind of hurt you in the end to be a little too analytical and to plan things out too carefully. But for someone who just jumps in and then figures it out along the way, you've got that momentum, which is a huge asset. And it's something that not everybody has. So good for you that you did that. What do you think was one of the sort of main factors that kind of pushed you off the diving board into the pool?
Well, okay. And I do want to address what you just said as well, because I do think that you're right. There's like this balance between taking action and making it imperfect, but there's also being strategic. And so that was the part I was missing. And the irony is that I worked in strategic communications, and yet I was missing the entire strategic foundation for my business. So that's what I really encourage people to do, is set a solid strategic foundation. That doesn't mean all your plans are written and you just like, know everything you're going to do. I still don't 10 years later, have everything so tailored like that, because it is such a fast moving place online. So I don't think that's, even realistic. But having said that, I do think it's important to have that strategy in place. I used to dance when I was younger, so I look at it as this sort of combination between, ballet, which is very structured, and modern dance, which is what I did, which is very fluid. So we have to have like this meeting, some kind of combination of the two. We have the strategy, we take action, we figure it out and implement and tweak and learn as we go. But taking action without knowing who you're here to help and what you help them with and having a clear message, to me, was a real waste of my time. I literally spent a year and a half getting nowhere. So I do think that just getting that foundation in place and then you can start marketing and experimenting is going to save a lot of struggle for so many people.
Well, as an aside, I've seen some dance forms where they take ballet and modern and sort of make a hybrid. So it's modern
Exactly.
dance with ballet shoes. So I agree. I mean, there's just the beauty is in kind of the balance between planning and action. And we all sort of are constantly trying to find that perfect balance for our business because it'll be different for every business. And some of the action takes courage, and then the planning takes a lot of analysis and sort of thought work. And it's hard to be someone that's a really good thinker and also a really good action person. So
Mm.
that is tough. It's tough. And for a lot of folks, they're really good at the thinking and they sort of maybe need a coach or somebody to push them into the action. Other
Mm-hmm.
folks, like you said, they're great at action, but then maybe they need some consultants or advisors or mentors to help them strategize and to direct their action in the right, direction. So that's great. I think this is a really useful conversation and also good for people to think and check themselves, right? Am I being too much on the side of action right now, this month, this season, or too much analysis paralysis? Do I need to take more action or more time researching and more time planning? So let's all kind of do that check-in for ourselves too during this episode, because this is a really good direction for us to think about, especially as our businesses change. We have a lot going on in the online world, especially. So for anyone whose business either has an online component or is primarily online, I mean, that you can't even make a 5-year plan, much less.
No.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
barely plan ahead a year in the online world, and then you have to maybe pivot or restructure things. So
But yeah, exactly, exactly. And I totally agree. And I built my business, I mean, almost entirely online. So I really understand that, how fast things are changing and how much things have changed in the time that I've been here online. So yeah, it's really hard to plan that much in advance, but also I don't really see the point in it because the thing is you're going to take something that you do, implement it, and then build on success. That's like one of my biggest mottos in my business is build on success. So like if you take some kind of initiative, like the very first time I ran an online challenge, okay, I did it the first time, great. What did I learn from it? What went well? What didn't go well? Next time I ran it, way better results. Ran it live a third time, better results, then made it evergreen. And so it's that sort of process of like doing and learning and improving is really valuable.
Definitely. So give us what's like a week like in your work week. Give us sort of a general average week so that we get an idea of what you do, what your business is about, and how it looks for you from a lifestyle perspective.
Oh, sure. So I started my business when my kids were little. So my youngest was in preschool, and so I really, I didn't have too much time to spare, but I was working way harder than I do now, ironically. So, because I didn't have all these systems and things in place, now I've got multiple streams of income. I've got a membership program. I have a copywriting program. I have a messaging program. I have private clients. I have a mentoring program. I have so many different things in place that provide multiple streams of income, which is awesome. I love that. Of course, we don't start there. Everybody wants to start with that leveraged income. And I think it's much smarter to just start, where you are. It's much easier to sell your one-on-one time than it is to sell like a program, especially when you don't have an email list. So anyway, right now, the way my day usually works is I only work when during school hours in terms of, seeing clients. Obviously, there's going to be some exceptions, but I usually keep my hours pretty rigid to just those hours. And if I'm going to do anything in the evenings, now that the kids are older, I have a lot more flexibility. It's going to be on my own marketing, or on my own kinds of creation. So I like that balance. I know I don't have this like this concept of like having to work every night and all weekends anymore. It's just so much more freedom than I used to have.
And it's a great schedule for a mom. Not
Yeah.
everyone who's a solopreneur is a parent. And, out of the parents, not everybody wants to sort of be available before school drop off and after school pickup. But for a parent who wants that kind of flexibility, solopreneurship can offer that. But I don't think it just happens automatically. I mean, it's a
No.
really intentional planning out of what your day looks like because it's really easy to have calendar creep and just slowly find yourself telling the kids, hey, why don't you sign up for that after school program so I
Mm,
can, and that's not what a lot of parents want to do. I mean, I think a
no.
lot of parents just love the idea that if their kid has, a parent teacher meeting during the school day or an after school soccer game or something, they want to be able to be a family together during a lot of those hours that other
Absolutely.
corporate folks spend, in a cubicle or just out on the road or doing something that takes up all of their life.
Oh, absolutely. I have, between my two boys, my youngest one plays two sports competitively. So it's like we just spent the entire weekend at the hockey arena because he plays hockey. So yeah, I love the flexibility. And it's actually really easy to do. I use Acuity scheduling. So whatever online calendar you use, you can just set your hours for when clients can come and schedule appointments. So that's really easy to do. You can change it during the summer to different, range of hours where people can schedule.
Right.
And of course, I always let them know because I do have clients all over the world that if something doesn't work, to let me know, we'll make it work. But then also, the important thing that I've learned too is I also block times for myself. So I know we said I don't do huge planning in advance of, when I'm launching certain things, but I definitely know like when I'm going to be launching different things according to different events. And I'll block out the time to actually work on not just the time of, launching, but also the prep time. and give myself that space. So I just use Google Calendar, and I'll go in my calendar, and I have different color coding. So if I'm launching something, whether it's for me or a JV partner, it's in red, and I know like I can just look in a glance and really see what my month and my week and my day looks like. So if anybody's not using a calendaring tool like an online calendar, get one. It'll
Definitely,
really,
right?
oh my gosh, yeah, because it lets you manage your time instead of just, having other people, as you said, what did you call it? Calendar creep?
Calendar creep, yeah, where it
Yeah,
just kind of your calendar rules you instead of you ruling your calendar.
absolutely. Yeah, great point.
So where do you see your future business, maybe we can't plan 5 years ahead. So a year from now, do you see any changes in your business, anything you're working towards, or is it going just perfectly in where you want to maintain what you've got now rather than change anything?
Well, I think that we always have to change. That's the fun of it. That's the beauty of it, right? So I'm really, really lucky. My messaging is, of course, I teach messaging, so it's super honed in. I know, it's very clear. I am definitely attracting the right people, and that's what I love helping my clients with is getting messaging that speaks their truth so that they really attract the people who value what they do and who they are. So that is probably the best change my business has had is really honing in on that and attracting those people. And in terms of like where it's going, I almost have too many clients at this point. So I am going to be releasing another small group program where I'm going to be taking people through my Marketing with Heart mentoring program, where I'm going to be working with a small group of entrepreneurs. And I do see repeating that more often and really keeping that as a key part of my business because I do love the system I've created. And by the way, can I tell people a quick tip on this? And this is especially for people like experts and coaches and consultants.
Please, that'd be
All
great.
right, cool. Okay. So one of the things that I learned was I kept trying to focus on like an evergreen marketing funnel, which I have one. I have an evergreen program. I just made 2 sales of it this week. It's great. But you know what? It's a $500 program. And it's just a taste of what I can help my clients with. So I finally reached a point where I'm like, why am I spending all this time on that? And I flipped my funnel so that it's really nurturing more, leading people to a consultation. And from the consultation, I can direct them to the right place. If that program is the best fit for them, that's great. If they want to work with me, privately, that's great. If it's a small group, that's great. I can tell them, where I think the best fit is for them and we can make it work for them. So what I would just say is get really clear on I call it your client journey, which is the steps you take your clients through and the results you help them achieve at each step. That's your big one-on-one offer. You can take that offer, and you might have heard the term signature system. I just like to call it a client journey because to me it's a journey we take together, not just a
Yeah.
cookie cutter kind of thing.
And I love to
So,
travel, so the idea of journey to
yeah.
me is appealing for sure.
There you go. So, and here's the thing. If you go to my website on my coaching page, I actually have a visual representation of that client journey. And it's really simple. And if you can systematize your client journey, if you can create a very clear journey that you can communicate clearly, and if you can visually represent it, even better. And then you can take parts of that journey and you can package it at different price points, different levels of access to you, different formats. That is the key to creating multiple streams of income. And I really recommend that if people don't have that client journey right now and they're just selling their time or a package of hours, that is the number one way. I remember when I made that switch, Flavia, years ago from selling my time to selling the client journey, it completely transformed the freedom I had in my business because I wasn't chasing after people anymore. And I remember selling like at the time $17,000 in a week because, I was selling this journey instead of just my time. So really, really valuable for creating that freedom and the multiple streams of income.
That is amazing advice, truly. And so some more advice that listeners always want to know are just some of your favorite time saver, either apps or techniques or just advice. You've already talked about get yourself a calendar if you don't have a really effective calendar. And I think that's a great tip. Do you have anything else like that or favorite software that you want to talk about?
Oh, in terms of software, oh my goodness, I have so many I use.
Well, you've talked about Acuity, and Acuity is a great one. And there's a few competitors, Calendly and a few others, but Acuity is a really good one. I've used it myself. What other software do you love that you'd want to give a quick plug to?
Well, definitely lead pages. I use a lot of lead pages. I love that, when I'm working with a client and they don't even have to have a website yet, we can just get a landing page, a thank you page, a download page, boom. You can start growing your business. In fact, when I started growing my business, I didn't have a website and I started getting clients. Of course, back in those days, we didn't have lead pages, so I had to hire somebody to do a landing page. Now you can it's so easy.
I know, right? People jumping in today have no idea what doing the same things would have entailed 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's much
Even
easier now.
payment gateways. I mean, I've been online for a little longer maybe than some, and so I've seen the progression from all the way. I mean, bought my first domain, I think, in the late 90s and went online from
Wow.
there, and everything has changed so much.
Yeah, and much of it for the better and some of it for the worse, but it's all good, right? We got to adapt. But that's one thing. And then the other thing that I've started doing, I use and I do have a whole page where I put all my resources in my member area, and that is the other software. I use something called Access Alley, and it is awesome. So I have all these programs, like I said, and people, what I've done is created a member area where I create a private, for every one of my private clients, they get their own private coaching page so that I put the recordings of all the calls with notes, link to my calendar, all that stuff. But I also have in the member area all of my programs. So there's one login. And the other thing I've done is created a free evergreen challenge, the one I mentioned to you before that I made evergreen. So it's called Find Your Marketing Wow. People can sign up for the free challenge. And when they do, they're in my member area. So they
That's
can
great.
actually see all the different programs that are available in that area.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great software. What's the name of that again?
It's called Access Ally or Ally. I don't know how Ally, I guess. Access Ally. Yeah, so that's a great software. I mean, there's so many membership or software programs out there, and I was looking at so many different options. And again, there's not one best solution fits all, but for me, because I had so many different programs and I wanted to make it easy for my clients, I really like that it's all under one roof and that I can really brand it to myself. That was important to me.
Great tips. Definitely great tips. So one thing we like to share on this podcast is because it's focused on lifestyle and, not, we have a lot of reformed workaholics, a lot of recovering workaholics, myself included, and, folks that have really learned to make their businesses or aspire to make their businesses open up a little bit more so that there's room in their life for the things they love to do. So I love, love, love asking people about their hobbies or like guilty pleasures. What are some things that you can do now that you really weren't able to do when you lived the corporate lifestyle?
Oh my goodness. It was so long ago. Oh my
Narrow the
goodness.
list to 200, please.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, my older son is 17 now, and I left when I was just when I had him. So it's been a while since I've been in corporate.
Well, I can tell you
So
this.
yeah,
Corporate probably has not changed a bit in 17 years.
no,
You've changed, but
I've changed.
corporate has not changed a bit.
You are so right. So what can I do? Anything I bloody well want. It's anything. Like my mom has Alzheimer's. I go, she lives in Florida. I'm in San Diego. So I go visit her, like once a month. I can just go. I can do a webinar from wherever I am or lead a group call from wherever I am. It's like I have the total flexibility. And I did live and work in 5 different countries. That is back on the game plan again. So we're actually we're probably going to be moving back. I'm originally from Canada. We might be moving back to Canada. I can do that. I can travel. Like the flexibility in the short term, like day to day, totally there. But it's also a business that I can take with me wherever I go, whether it's moving to a different country or just traveling, it's there. And of course, when I was a manager in corporate world, my gosh, I used to work like just about every weekend.
What, your manager, your manager of the manager, right? Because there's all these levels in corporate. You mean
Ugh.
if you said, hey, do you mind if I work from Canada for a few months? They weren't okay with that?
You know what, though? I have to be honest with you. When I was working in Singapore for a consulting firm and I told them I was leaving because I was going to move back to North America to be with my now husband, long story, they offered to put me up in an office in my home in the States, so I could work for them.
Well, that was progressive because
Wasn't that?
you said it was a few years back, and
Yeah.
that's more common now. So telecommuting, I mean, I think a lot of employers are realizing they're actually losing talent by being so rigid about geography. So they're sort of taking on the world is flat, or at least a little flat, and starting to offer telecommuting. But I don't think you saw that, decades ago as much. So that's rare.
It was rare. And, I turned it down because I was probably whatever. At the time, I was like, I felt it was going to be too isolating to be like working at home alone. Now I love it.
Yeah, now look at you, right? Full circle. That's too
Yeah.
funny. So, what was one terrifying moment in your business? Because we've all been there. You don't have to give me your most terrifying, because that's hard sometimes, but just one moment where you had a big challenge and it was scary and you worked through it.
Gosh, I'm not the kind of person who like gets terrified like that. Like it's just not in my nature. I just go for it and I usually just set a goal and I just keep working at it till I hit it. So, and it's not like I have to like bang my head against a wall. I set an intention and I usually fulfill it. So, it hasn't been like that kind of a struggle, to be totally transparent with you. The beginning of my business was the most frustrating. Like I said, I was doing every kind of marketing under the sun and I had absolutely nothing to show for it. So, can I give people like a reframe of how I look at marketing to help them?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's exactly the kind of nugget we love.
Okay. So I want people just to look at marketing in this way. Marketing is just sharing your message with the right people so they're inspired to take action. I'm going to say that one more time and then I want to break it down into little nuggets really quickly, Flavia, because it's really transformed my whole business and for my clients. So marketing is sharing your message with the right people so they're inspired to take action. So in order to make your marketing effective, what do you have to do? You have to know who the right people are. You have to know what your message is. You have to know what action you want them to take and how to inspire them to take that action. And because I spent the first year and a half of my business without any of those pieces in place, that's why I was spinning my wheels. Once you get clear on those things, then you can try all of these marketing tactics that you want, whether it's a challenge or a workshop or Facebook ads or whatever. Those are just vehicles that you use to get your message out there. But don't start sharing your message until you know what it is and who you're trying to help and what you want people to do when they hear it. Otherwise, you will spin your wheels.
That is awesome advice. And with that, how do people get in touch with you to follow up with you and to learn more from you and to, have you as one of their mentors? What's the best way for people to reach out?
Well, there's many ways, but I'll tell you two easy ways. First of all, I have a free training, of course, like everybody should have on my website. It's an authentic brand guide. And in there, I share with people like the 3 key things that your ideal clients really want to know before they hire you and how to communicate them in your brand. So you can get that at my website, marketingfromwithin.com. I'll repeat that. Oh, you'll probably have it in the notes, but marketingfromwithin.com. And then if you really, connect with what I have to share today and you want to speak with me directly, just go to talkwithcindy.com and you'll answer a few questions and we'll arrange a time to speak.
Talkwithcindy.com. Great domain for that. And Cindy is spelled Cindy, just the normal way, Cindy. So talkwithcindy.com. I do hope that listeners reach out to talk to you. You are just a wonderful person. I've met you now, not only in person, but I got to talk with you in depth here on this podcast. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing what you know about heart in relation to business with all of us. Thank you, Cindy, so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Flavia.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness, but money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use a coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.